Good morning. I'm Jen Haston, and on this week's episode of Haston Helping Hands, I'm going to talk to you about a way that I really screwed up this past week. So, one of the biggest things that I try to do as I walk through the world is be a kind person, be a loving person, and have a lot of empathy. And there was a time this weekend where there was a situation where there was a misunderstanding, and I said, "You're kidding." 2 words. Took less than 10 seconds for me to say them, but then I had to go back and clean it up. And it's hard to talk about it because I really do place a premium on empathy and making sure that I really read the situation properly, and I didn't do that. And it sounds a lot like I'm beating myself up, but the truth is that I realize now that if I had just stopped and used the acronym THINK, which is before you speak, think. Is it truthful? Is it helpful? Is it interesting? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Well, it definitely was not kind, and I had to go back and clean it up. And if I had just thought for another second, or asked a question, or clarified something before I made an assumption, I would not have had to go and clean it up. But because I had to clean it up, it made me realize that you don't have to say something racist to be a jerk. Sometimes you can just say something that's unthinking and you're a jerk. And it's not great. And it's not a great feeling. And as soon as you realize it, go clean it up. Go take care of it. And I'm mindful of the fact that tomorrow, many of us will be with our families when we haven't been with them for a while. And there might be something you say that you regret and you have to go back and clean up. And one of my favorite tools that I've learned from Dr. Susan Main is, let me play back what you just said. Did I hear that right? And then another one is, you know what? I'm not happy about how I showed up in that conversation. I need to talk to you about that. I was frustrated and dealing with my own stuff, so I apologize. And let's try that again. You told me this. Let me talk to you about how I'm feeling or how I'm reacting or what I can do to be there for you. And I know this isn't always possible to do. Sometimes we're not thinking, sometimes we're in a hurry. But if you just take an extra beat, just an extra second, you can save yourself so much frustration. And the interaction I had was with 2 people I'll probably never see again. But that's the point, right? Like, if you have that interaction with them, you have the opportunity to lift them up or push them down. And I definitely pushed them down, and I went back and I apologized. And it's not about how they reacted, except for the fact that it became necessary for me to apologize. If I had just taken another second to think about, like, do I really need to say this? Or can I say something else? Or can I say nothing? Or can I wait a second and go, you know what, through the mask, I didn't really hear you. What was that? So as I so often tell you, I'm a passenger on this flight, just like you are. I do not have any special powers. One of the things that I pride myself on, though, is meaning what I say and saying what I mean. And while we're on the topic of things to consider as you walk into holidays, I read this article not too long ago, I'll post it below, that talks about not having your children hug people that they don't want to hug. And it's so important because it's so important to teach them consent at a very early age. And just for the pure fact of they have control over their bodies, we are teaching Vivian, my body, my choice. And it's a hug, a handshake, or a high five. Or make up your own phrase, whatever makes you comfortable. But literally practice this with your kids. Don't like walk in blind and expect that it's going to go well. Like, you have to practice this. And like, most importantly, you have to practice it with you. And when they say no to you, and they will say no to you, rejoice and say, awesome. And like, just take it. And I will say that my daughter is extremely affectionate. And there are definitely times, like last night, she didn't want to hug her aunt. And I was like, okay. And that was it. And there was no issue because we had set it up before where we say to her, it's your body, your choice. If you want to hug somebody, you have to ask for their permission, and they have to ask for your permission. And so one of the things that it talks about in this article is that you want to practice it, and you especially want to practice it right before you go in and say, okay, remember, you can handshake, hug, or high five. It's totally your choice. You can say no, you can say yes, and you can decide. It's completely your choice. And I know that this is difficult for people, and it's so crucial. And again, it is the most important thing you can do to show your child that it is their body, their choice, and they get to choose. Because let's think about it. When you're an adult and you don't want to hug somebody, you don't hug anybody. And you don't give any responses, or you don't apologize, and you don't say anything like, I don't feel like hugging you. With the pandemic, it is the perfect reasoning to say, we are attempting to avoid COVID, so we're not hugging anybody right now. You could say that. It may seem like a cop-out, but maybe it's that first step towards making sure that there's body autonomy for your kid. And again, it's my body, my choice, so I get to choose. And so I would say that because that's another opportunity where you might say something and regret it. Or, more importantly, you might not say anything and then regret it because your kid hugged the uncle or the aunt or whoever, and you're just like, oh, I should have said something. So practice that now. Practice it now. And if you do say, hey, listen, she didn't want to hug you, and we're really teaching them that it's not okay for anyone to hug them if they don't want to be hugged. And it's as simple as that. And so my message today is pay attention to where you're at, listen to what you're thinking, and really think. Really, really think. Is it truthful? Is it helpful? Is it interesting? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Before you speak. It's advice we've heard for years. Think before you speak. There's a reason that it's think before you speak. And that's my message. I wish you and yours a wonderful holiday. If you find this helpful, please share, like, and subscribe from my YouTube channel. And have a wonderful holiday. I'm Jen Haston. This has been Haston Helping Hands.